So the reason we founded GetJop or Joy of Performing, but my first stint was in manufacturing because that was what my father's business was. And that business has been going on since 1982. And I took care of the sales and marketing while I was there in New York. I have been an entrepreneur now for about 23 years. So this means I started at the age of 19. And this was while I was doing my education from NYU, New York University. And I'm a finance major. So I think we have a culture that we follow. We call them joyful aces.
Hello everyone, welcome to the podcast series The Culture Beat by Incredible Workplaces. Today we have Gaurav with us, CEO Joy of Performing, and we are going to talk about job and its culture, the story behind job, the story behind the culture building in job, and the future vision of job culture. So welcome Gaurav to the show.
Thank you.
And congratulations on being Incredible Workplace certified as well.
Thank you so much.
So for our audience, let's start with your own journey as an individual. How did you come to the business entrepreneurship? And how is the journey of job so far? A little bit about what job does.
Sure. I mean, I can take the whole day, but I'll try to make it concise, right? So Govind, I have been an entrepreneur now for about 23 years.
Okay.
So this means I started at the age of 19.
Mm-hmm.
And this was while I was doing my education from NYU, New York University. And I'm a finance major. But my first stint was in manufacturing because that was what my father's business was. And that business has been going on since 1982. And I took care of the sales and marketing while I was there in New York. It was a great experience. I loved it. It was like throwing yourself in a market which is completely new and figuring out what will work and then, making it scalable. So that experience gave me a lot of confidence. Then as luck would have it, I was visiting the UK for some business. And that is when I met my co-founder and business partner, Vidul Sabharwal, and restarted the journey of technology or saffron tech back in 2008. So it's been a little over 17 years now. And then since 17 years, I've been a part of many different, companies that we have founded and scaled, got an exit in one, which is a healthcare business services business. Job was founded about 5 years back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one of the 4 co-founders. Vibhu is absolutely a part of this journey as well. He is the CTO, the product owner. Then there is Grand Crew, who is one of our co-founders in the UK. And there is Rakesh Serene, who takes care of strategy and a part of job forming team as well. So the reason we founded GetJop or Joy of Performing, as the name says it, that there is joy missing in performance, right? The moment you talk about performance, people get apprehensive. People come in their cocoon.
Correct.
And they think it's going to be either a stick or a carrot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually comes out of it, and there is no joy in it. And I also realized that while scaling businesses, I realized that there are certain businesses which kind of hit a glass ceiling and don't go beyond, and certain businesses which scale like crazy. And I couldn't understand or fathom why is that. And it all comes to people, that all comes to strategy, it all comes to the alignment of people with that strategy and then execution on that strategy, right? So that is where the joy of performing comes into play. We start with setting up clear goals, transparent, align it throughout the organization, whether it's vertical or horizontal. Make sure right from the CEO to the janitor speaks the same language, goes for the same North Star or priority. And then how do you align people's performance with that, making it very tangible, making them realize that with the growth of the organization, their growth is also a part of it. And that is what we are doing at GetJop today.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And great journey. And I think there are very few who start their entrepreneurship journey very early, and I think 19 years. Sometime like if I talk about myself, I was not even thinking of doing anything in the life, but you are building businesses. That's really good. And yeah, I think you spoke about Saffron. Saffron is also one of the incredible workplace certified organization. And I got an opportunity to meet Vibu and interview also. It's so great to see that two friends who started something together and now also stay connected. So very awesome. And that talks a little bit about the culture that you might build, because there's an element of trust that is already there. I think when the founders are building businesses, like now you are building Job, sometimes their characteristics of what they believe in also reflect in their organization. So thank you very much for taking us through that. Now, what I wanted to know a little bit about the culture and leadership part of it. So as you are a incredible workplace certified organization, what cultural pillars do you believe that made it possible that what Job is today?
So I think we have a culture that we follow. We call them joyful aces, and that joyful aces is all about alignment, customer success, and ease of execution. Right? How do you really go about execute what you want to believe? So with having said that, these are words. These are play of words and can be used the way one interprets them. But in reality, I think culture is nothing but discipline that you have for whatever you wish to follow. And that discipline comes from what is it that you care about, as a person. So if you care about making things transparent, then that culture becomes a discipline in the organization, because everybody likes to be transparent. And that creates the culture of the organization. So in my view, culture goes top down and also bottom up, right? And that's the way culture is formed from my understanding of it.
Awesome, and no doubt that culture is always top down, but we have to we have to make sure that people are also included in it, because the top leadership can define what culture or values they wanted to build, but at the end of the day, it is the people who has to exhibit those values in their day-to-day operations and day-to-day behavior. So absolutely.
You know what? It's amazing that you said that. You got to walk the talk, right? I mean, if it is top down, if you say that we want to bring transparency and clarity in the organization, but if you are not bringing that transparency, then nobody's going to follow it.
Yeah.
No matter, you can engrave it, put it on the wall, have it on your website, but nothing happens with that. So just wanted to share.
Yeah, and I know the Job is supporting organizations in not only managing their performance, but making performance a joy, right? In performance is something which I think I agree with you, where you said that people used to think that it's kind of a taboo. Like when people talk about performance, there will be either a negative feedback or a positive feedback, or connect most of the time with either salary increments or promotions. But the way Job is trying to transform it is in a very different way. But you being an organization that helps other organizations improve their performance management. Let's talk about Job a little bit. Now, every organization needs results, right? But there has to be a kind of a balance that has to be created between result-oriented organization, but at the same time not losing the human-centered aspect of it. How are you doing that in Job?
No, very well said. So the way I look at it, it's the alignment of the business goals with the people, right? So if you look at it, it's not always white and black. People are people. They have emotions. They need to be understood. There is a need for them to be understood. And for that, they need to first understand how do they align with the whole organization goals. That is where we go from the business goal first and then come to the people side of it, rather than going the other way around. Because the moment you go the other way around, then emotions take over, and then it may or may not connect to the business goals. So that is the first element of it. The second element of it is that we say the joy of the performance actually comes true because we are very clear that performance and compensation are two different aspects of it. Yeah. You cannot speak the same language of performance and compensation. Yes, performance has an impact on the compensation, but if you take that into one breath, then you're not really giving the attention that performance need, whether those are lag indicators or lead indicators. Now, lag and lead indicators, I just want to kind of double click on that. So let's say I want to be outcome driven, and one of the performance of my organization is that whatever I set my goals, I want to make sure that I achieve 100% of it. Now, whether I achieve 100% of it or not is only going to be told when the time has passed, whether it's a quarter, 6 months, or a year, right? The that's a lag indicator. The lead indicators is that what will I do collaboratively with my team or cross-functional team for me to get to that 100%. And that is where we are different at Job. We say that we are one of the only ones who follow continuous performance management and not a traditional performance management. Traditional performance management is that when the time is passed, you look, you give a rating to someone, and you say whether you are good or bad. We don't do that. We say it needs continuous check-in, it needs continuous nudges, it needs retrospective, and that continuity has both lead and lag indicators. And with those lead indicators, your probability of getting to those lag indicators is much higher. And that is where Job comes into play.
Awesome. And so talking about performance, there are a lot of cultures where performance driven is one of the value. Meaning,
Right.
like you said, that people like to have result oriented, targets or KPIs, and they want to evaluate people on that. And I do see that connection of performance, and I think anybody can see that very easily. That there's a very direct connection between the performance of an individual with their business. And I think through your platform also you are trying to
Absolutely.
use it. And I'm assuming that the same is applied in Job as a team itself, like as an organization that you do. Do you have any story and example of maybe your client where before Job they were using performance management as PMS, not necessarily connecting it with business, but now they see an impact and see a value there?
Sure. I mean, for privacy purposes, I will not take names, but I can take a name of Saffron Tech. It's one of our organization, right? So when we got into Job, we were the first ones to use Job at Saffron Tech. Now the difference that it has brought in, I will just give you some numbers, that we have been growing more than 30 to 50% year on year at Saffron for the last, let's say, 3 to 5 years. Our management is much more mature. They are much more driven by outcome rather than biases today. The whole, if someone makes a mistake or if they are not able to get to their performance, they are not apprehensive. They are very upfront, saying that, at the end of the quarter, I need to be here. My 6 weeks have gone by and I'm not even 20% close to my results. I need help. And through the platform, they are able to exactly pinpoint that where do they need help. So just double clicking on that, a lot of time is given in the organization, or the organization takes, or their people take, to really figure out where the problem is. So with a platform like Job, that time is eradicated. You don't have to look into it. You have real-time insight of what is happening, and that is what happened at Saffron as well. So not only our top line, but our people have become much more efficient. So rather than adding more people, we've been able to create growth with the same amount of people. So that has added to our bottom line or our EBITDA as well. So those are some of the real facts we have done in our business, and I can share that. Now, if you take to Job with all the customers that we are working with, there are similar stories. People are much more engaged. Businesses have increased their top line. They've become cost optimized. So it has a direct impact on the bottom line. And one of the big element is that you want to retain the best of the people. So people get retained because they are engaged. They know what they are doing. right? So I think those are the few elements I can share.
Very nice. Now talking about a little bit about job as a company. Right?
Sure.
So you are also on the path of doing, and you have ambition to increase your client base, add more features, and of course adding more team member to your organization. When you grow or you're growing, do you see that you need to make some changes in the culture that you have currently, or you are satisfied with the current culture? And if you would talk about the culture, what do you think? I know that you spoke about 3 elements of it, and you will talk about that. Are you satisfied with them, or you think there has to be a change that need?
So I think, like anything in life, business are dynamic. They are always changing. And whatever took you to 0 to 10 people or 10 to 100 people will not take you to 100 to 1,000. So the need of the business, the need of the culture elements also change with time. So while our joyful aces remain the same, what can be added or what can be edited will depend on the business need, on our people maturity and our maturity as leaders of that point of time as well. So I think, so it will change with the requirement of the business.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the job as a platform, right?
Sure.
Now, what I think the platform is doing is bringing and trying to remove some subjectivity, but trying to bring a lot of objectivity, because that helps. Because more the subjectivity, more the confusion. But at the same time, you can't remove the subjectivity completely. How do you manage your platform? Because is any organization that uses job and they use job for performances, it's gonna be an impact on their culture. Because how do you see and implement performance management is how your culture is going to shape up. Because driving the result is one of the important values most of the time companies have. How do you make a balance between in your platform? How do you make a balance between numbers, but also human subjective, like some situation that has come because the performance was not done? How does your platform handles this kind of situation?
No, I'm glad you asked that, right? Because one without the other doesn't work. This is a problem where you cannot just throw technology to it and say that it's going to solve it all. Technology is an enabler and a great enabler for you to solve the problem at scale. For you to really make it a culture in the organization, you want that discipline, and that will come with technology. However, the element of people need to be intact, right? And those are the two things to come together. Now, to answer your question, how do we do that? So there are 2 big elements of it, right? One is whole goal setting and strategy execution, which is how do you set your goals so that they are transparent, clear, everyone is aligned, cascaded right to the T in the organization. And then how do you enable your team to execute on their goals, right? Whether it's projects, actions, initiatives, the confidence for you to achieve those actions. How is it that 2 teams are collaborating and working together? What are the regular check-ins? We have had a big element of AI now working on the platform so that you are not just doing the data entry. The system is bringing in a lot of intelligence and really taking the work off from you so that you can spend your time in the meaningful work and not the day-to-day job that you need to do, right? So that's the whole goal setting and strategy execution. While on the people side of it, we have the whole engagement module, which has one-on-one feedback, 360 feedback, giving badges, recognizing people for what they are doing, giving them kudos, have a wall of joy where every time a team achieves something or an individual achieves something, the whole team celebrates that, because you want to give pat at the back, not just in a room, but publicly, right? You give critical feedback one-on-one, but pat at the back publicly. So all of those elements are well defined and created in the platform, and then again, being coupled with AI so that it can help you to do that very effectively in the platform as well.
So great. So there is a possibility that while any of your client that uses the platform, the employee has an opportunity to also express their concerns on a particular goal, and the manager can make those tweaks. Is that what you say?
Absolutely. We have just about launched a big module of competency, which is not just behavior but skill competency as well. And it will lead to the grow module, which allows someone to really understand what are my gaps. If you are my boss, Govind, you can tell me, Gaurav, you're not doing this right. Okay. But how do I solve it, right?
Yeah.
So you have to not just give me the problem, but the solution as well. And you have to make sure that the solution that you give me, if I'm doing that, I make an impact and I can show you that impact as well. So that if that whole journey is going to be tracked at GetJop, you don't have to go out of it.
That's awesome. So let's shift a little bit of conversation to you, your organization, not just as a job as a platform, job as an organization. And talking about the culture, and I always believe that when you're comparatively small than what you want to be, it's always important to start thinking about culture and how that would shape in your organization. Do you have any thing in your mind that you have decided that how the culture will look like? Will that gonna stay same as it is today, or you think it will change when you see yourself growing after 3 to 5 years?
No, absolutely. I think as the business progresses and as we increase our team strength, as we go into different geographies, it will bring in different kind of challenges in front of us. And it's only the culture of the organization that will help us to grow in the right way as well, right?
Sure.
So we definitely give it the due importance that it should have. Now, what are those elements of it? In my view, while the E is for execution, but the E is also for entrepreneurship. And what we want to create is that mindset of entrepreneurship, of ownership in the people, so that you're not really doing, too much of micromanagement, if I may say so. When people know that they are the owners of those particular departments, spaces, BU, etc., they figure it out themselves. All you have to do is enable them through that process. So I think entrepreneurship is a big one. Alignment, which is clarity, transparency, is a big one. And it is okay. Even if we have a problem, we are not able to succeed. We have to ramp things down at some point of time, and these things happen in business. It is okay to do that, but it is okay to do it with complete transparency. You say what you mean and you do what you say, right? That's the whole point of it. And then the collaboration is big, because without collaboration, you cannot take the best out of people. Now, Govind, you may be good at two things, but I know as a person, you may not be great at two or three things, right? So if we collaborate and if we are able to be respectful for each other's strength, we can collaborate and achieve much more than maybe do it individually. And those are the things that bring joy on the day. So we got to practice what we preach as well.
Awesome. As a CEO, do you see any challenges in terms of the culture that you have in job, or maybe alignment of your team members with the current values that you have, or maybe you're thinking that the values that you currently have might not be the complete picture of the values that you wanted in jobs? Any such thing?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The candid response to this is, I see it every day. There is a challenge every day. And sometimes my people come and tell me, or even if they don't tell directly, there is a way you get to know that what you are saying, you're not practicing in reality. And that happens with me as well, right? So while we say that we want to be respectful, we want to be sure that we give everything, all the transparency, let people collaborate, not micromanage, give them the entrepreneurial mindset. Sometimes you don't follow that yourself, and I'm in that boat as well. However, having those culture well defined in your organization and in your headspace, you reflect. And even if you're not perfect, which no one is, you reflect, you understand, you retrospect, and then you take the corrective measures the next day. And I think that is only as leaders we can do.
Awesome. So we're going to the end of the podcast. So let me ask you, I know there are multiple things that the way you want to describe your culture, it's very hard to put it into one word, right? But I would like to listen from you. If you have to describe either the current or the future culture of job, what will be that one word that will always stay in the culture of job as an mental show?
I think resilience. You know, anything will go up and down. Disruptions are going to happen. Technology will change. Businesses will go through transition. Is the resilience of you being in the game and playing it the best of your ability is one element that we will always keep in that culture. And with that resilience, we want to not do it with pressure. We want to do as much with joy as we can. So the path is going to be tough. The path is already tough. Any business owner you talk to, it is going to be tough. Sure. However, can you make it joyful? Can you make it where people are motivated for their growth and resilient, and create that culture of resilience is something that we will stand for.
Awesome. Now, last question from my side.
Sure.
You are an incredible workplace certified organization. How does this certification, what does it mean for you? What changes it has already brought, or you think will bring in future? Because this is a yearly process that you have to go. It's a continuous process, as you said, but a continuous process to evaluate the culture, a continuous process to acknowledge that the culture is important, and then make some changes based on the outcome of the assessment. How does it feel? What kind of impact it makes for you as a job?
First I want to congratulate you, because I think in today's day and age, platforms like these, initiatives like these are utmost important. I think the days are gone when you can think that just by paying people you will get the best out of them. I mean, of course you need to compensate people for what they're working for, but having that, what is extra, what is that culture that you are providing, what is it that people are feeling in your organization, I think is extremely important. We have seen companies which have scaled, are sustainable over 100 of years, are not because they are only profitable. It's also because they have that culture that no matter what goes up and down in the business cycle, they have been able to sustain. So I want to thank you and congratulate you for what you are doing at Incredible Workplaces. Secondly, what I wanna say, how is it important for a job? That's the question you asked, right? I think utmost important for a job, because it is something which reminds us time and again that we cannot take it for granted. Just because we have the certification today or we are doing something today does not mean that we can take it for granted and let it be. Every year when you guys knock on our doors or we come back to you, it is a process that we will have to go through. We want to ensure that you do your survey or whatever your process is absolutely candidly right. And if there is a challenge, you come tell us, and that's why we are partnering, right? And we can solve for it. We don't want to move. We don't want to show our backs to the problem. We want to face it, with utmost integrity and candidness and solve for it. And you are doing that for us. Thank you so much.
No, I think you're most welcome. And what I wanted to say is that I think to our audience specifically is that many times performance management, and why I'm calling this out specifically because you're in the business of transforming the performance management of the organization. In my opinion, performance management has a lot of impact on the values and the culture of the organization. When we started the conversation, and I think you started with saying that when people talk about performance, there is actually an element of fear sometimes that, now you will be questioned what you have done. But is there a way to bring joy in that performing? Is I think nobody has thought, and that's why I'm saying that maybe this is a great message to our audience that performance cannot only be a thing where you are scared or you have to give answers. You are answerable, of course, but you can make a joy out of it. But the most important thing is the way I see as an incredible workplaces is that it actually impacts your culture. Because end of the day, every organization wants, there's no organization which says I don't want results, right? Driving the results is the key thing that they want to do. And if you are able to, and what is the, how you do that? Performance management.
Right.
And if you're able to do it in a way that is joyful, I think it makes your work culture also better. So that would be message to my audience that when they are looking performance, don't look it as like a process or something that they need to do every quarter, but something that really impacts their culture. So thank you very much for doing this for your clients, and I hope that you will continue doing this. And once again, congratulations for being